Alright guys, so a little while ago, well actually no, not a little while ago, I did a video on Vlaire talking about a fanfiction idea of a Batman story, of kind of like talking about my thoughts on the current situation going on in the world. Now, I made it a rule to myself never to get political in here with this channel. That was never my place. I was never really fully educated, but like in political science and whatnot. But the thing of it is, I know what's right and wrong. And I decided the best way I could do this was kind of like think up a story and kind of like talk about my thoughts on it in that way. So this story is called Batman, Where I Stand. So in this story, a young African-American teenager is shot and killed in Gotham by a cop. The kid was about 15, 16 years old. He gets gunned down by a member of the GCPD because the cop thought he had something on. He claimed that he had a gun on him, which turns out no, that wasn't the case at all. And he was reaching for something in his pack because had his headphones on, so he couldn't hear the cop. So he reached into his pocket, and then the cop fired on him, killing the kid. And that sparked not only protests in Gotham, but also all across the other cities in the DC universe. And a lot of superheroes decide to get involved. Obviously, Oliver gets involved in Star City. He's marching with the protesters. Hal Jordan is showing solidarity by, casting a light over Coast City of, the Black Lives Matter sign. And you also have Superman marching with protesters in Metropolis. And I want to have this scene where the cops are like, disperse! And then Dan Turpin, the police officer known best in the Metropolis PD, leans over and goes, "You're gonna tell Superman to disperse? Good luck with that, buddy." So, all of them have been very peaceful. But the problem is, in Gotham, it's a different situation. That while a lot of the protests have been peaceful, probably because there's been, cops are like, well, the Justice League's getting involved. We're not going to, obviously we can't obviously tell them no. And it looks like the Justice League is keeping everything calm. But there is one person, and it's in the heart of Gotham, that's kind of not really said anything. And that's, of course, Batman. And Batman's been contemplating whether or not to be a part of this. He actually thinks, no, there's no, maybe there was something wrong. Maybe the cop thought he was threatened or something like that. And a lot of the protesters are like, we don't want Batman here because the dude literally works with the cops all the time. So, of course, he's going to be biased. And Batman takes that into account. It's like, maybe I am being a little biased. And meanwhile, in GCPD, Gordon is fucking furious because he is already like, I thought we got past this, people. I thought we got past, all the corruption and, all of this in Gotham, when I took control. He's like, well, there's still bad eggs in, the police department. And the police union is defending the guy, saying it was like justifiable homicide, he felt threatened and all that. And Gordon is fucking furious because he's like, I'm the commissioner, I will say this call. You will get fired without pay. And he's like, oh, that's not, the police union is going to say differently. And he's like, well, they can, I'm the commissioner, they're the union. There was a fucking difference. So, in that, while this is going on, Batman is also dealing with, like I said, a lot of some of the protesters don't want Batman here because they think he's just going to exacerbate the situation because, again, of his ties with the police. So, Bruce doesn't really know what to do. And eventually he gets contacted by somebody, and that somebody is Anarchy. And he's already like, well, of course Anarchy's going to jump in here anytime. And Anarchy's like, whoa, dude, I don't want to fight. Just want to talk. There's some people I want you to talk to, and we need to have a little chit chat with you, Batman. So Anarchy brings him to a secret meeting between several of Batman's other villains, Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, Mr. Freeze, Killer Croc, even Two-Face, who's like, yeah, the coin flipped in the favor of this little meeting. So yeah, and Baby Doll. I wanted to have this be its own nebulous Batman universe. So I wanted to have Baby Doll here, or at least a version of Baby Doll here. And they're all here, and the person who orchestrated this was the Penguin. The Penguin orchestrated all of this, and he's actually been funding the protests. He's actually been funding them, and Batman's like, you wanted to manipulate the protests so you could, join them into a riot, and all of you guys could just, reap reap the benefits from, the police being distracted by rot if you got them all to riot. And to which Oswald goes, calm your tits, bats. That's not what's going on. Turns out that the kid who was killed actually worked at the Iceberg Lounge. He didn't do anything illegal. He was basically like bus tables and clean dishes and, ran food when he was shorthanded. He worked at the Iceberg Lounge legitimately. And essentially was very, the kid actually appreciated Cobblepot for, giving him a job and letting it, because he was actually giving a lot of the money to his family, and actually invited Oswald to a family dinner. And Oswald was very moved by that because they weren't afraid of him, and they actually accepted him for allowing them to have this, give their kid this job. So Oswald not only paid for the funeral for the kid, but he also has been funding these protests and Batman's like, all right, so why aren't you out there? To which Oswald goes, you dumbass, we're villains. If we go out there, we will totally undercut everything that protest does. So we cannot be there. You gotta go, dude. We can't do it because we will immediately delegitimize that protest for who we are. We will immediately undercut it for being who we are. So you gotta do it. And if you're wondering where Joker is in all this, I wanted to have this brief moment where they mention well, so where's Joker stand in all this? Oh, he's just sitting back and watching the sparks fly. But anyway, so Batman eventually does concede and does go to one of the protests. He actually drives up in, he rolls up in the Batmobile, then jumps out, takes his belt off, drops it, and puts it in the Batmobile and walks over and goes, where do you need me? So, and I wanted to add this fun little scene that Bizarro guy thought of, and I thought it was very touching, and I thought it very much worked, where Batman basically says, everyone says I work alone, but really that's not the case, and the floodlights on the cityscape shoot up and reveal, the rest of the Bat family, Nightwing, Tim, Damian, Huntress, even, some of the other, protectors of Gotham, Ragman, show up to this thing to help join in the protest. So, there you go. Like I said, this was my way of kind of just dealing with everything that's going on in the shitfest that is 2020. And I thought, this would be a way to talk about it in my way. And like I said, one of my rules was I never get political in these videos. At no point. I think this is the first time I've ever talked about anything politics since, and I've had this channel since 2007, but and I doubt you'll hear me speak about this again because I want to keep you guys I want to make you guys feel happy and safe because it's not a fun world out there, and I figured this story would kind of breach the gap between the two. And I know this doesn't come, and like I said in my my tribute to Chadwick Boseman when I did that video a little while ago, I basically didn't, I know this doesn't come, doesn't really mean much from some white guy from Florida, saying this, but it does matter. I think all of this and I'm not trying to condone the riots or anything. I'm not condoning the riots. I'm not condoning any of that. But this shit has been insane, and it's got to stop. It's so. That's really all I can say at the end of the day, is that this shit is insane, and I don't know how much more that anyone can take of this, so. Alright, guys. Black Lives Matter. I'm out.